At one point you have to say, now I'm going to make it. I'm doing it right now. If you prepared very carefully, and if you have my flying experience, you have heard of other people failing and you have had your own experiences where things go wrong. So at one point you have to say, okay, I have seen the risks, the potential risks. I'm sure I have seen any potential risks. And then you make the decision and then you do it. My name is Captain Claus Cordes. I'm 65 years old and spent the last more than 45 years in aviation. I started as a young man, joining the Lufthansa pilot school in Bremen, Phoenix, Arizona, and then went through a little bit more than normal airline career as co-pilot on Boeing 737 and Airbus A300, then upgraded for captain on Airbus A320 family, MD-11 freighter for a very long time, and ending my career as a captain on an Airbus A380. But that's only one aspect. I was so interested in aviation technology that at one day I decided to become a test pilot and joined the university, have an academic degree as aeronautical engineer, never became a test pilot. You can't always win. And on the other side, I'm doing general aviation since very long time. I'm a very passionate glider pilot. I'm owning my own glider plane. I'm instructing young people for glider flying. So the range is very nicely described if you consider that I flew the Schulglider SG-38 with a rubber band takeoff and flying time of 12 seconds. And that was ending with a captain on Airbus A380 with my longest flight from Singapore to Frankfurt in wintertime with about 13 hours flying time. So there's not too much I miss in my aviation career. Long distance flight with the Junkers A50 Junior have a long tradition. If we look back almost 100 years to the mid-20s of the last century, Marga von Etzdorf, a young lady, was doing long-range flights within 10 days from Berlin to Tokyo, and I'm not quite sure whether she knew what she was going to do. If I consider the low meteorological knowledge, the low experience she had, the low navigational means, the low reliability of the engines, she was a very tough girl. And flying from Berlin to Tokyo within 10 days over the Indian subcontinent, passing the monsoon rain, this is something a little bit beyond my imagination. After the decision was made to undertake the journey, the planning began. And it was with just a rough pre-planning. Which countries do we go? Which are the points we have to see, like North Cape? Where are the air shows? Where should the airplane be shown to the audience? And then we came up to the decision that we start in Dessau. And the name Junkers and the city of Dessau, they just belong together. And then we fly northeastbound to the cold part first. And I went through the Baltic states, through Finland, to the North Cape, to Norway, Sweden. And then via the UK, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, back to Germany. And it was really some planning effort to find adequate airfields, to take care of fuel supply, to take care of alternates. I remember that I took very much care for the preparation of the sector around the North Cape. Where are the alternate airports? What are the hazards about winds and suddenly changing weather conditions? It was not only to prepare the route, it was also to prepare the airplane. Clear that I needed some space for baggage, for spare parts, for oil, for maps, for charts, for different clothing because you have to dress warmer on the North Cape than in Spain. So we thought about changes, and the changes basically were that I had a very big sack for baggage in the front seat. So the control stick in the front seat had to be removed. The rudder area had to be protected, also the throttle and the trim lever of the forward seat, so that I'm in control of the aircraft and not the sack with its weight after maybe some turbulences. And we changed the propeller. I'm very happy to have a fixed pitch wooden propeller rather than a constant speed propeller, because this is one possible or potential error source less. And when you fly 4 hours over the North Sea, you're happy about any potential trouble source you don't have on board the aircraft. Finally, it showed up that the preparations were adequate and good, and the airplane worked nicely for 140 flying hours. There were two big challenges. One was flying around the North Cape because it was very cold. I was shivering and freezing on that day for 4 hours, and after I had landed in Hammerfest, they straight put me into the sauna without asking me, and maybe that is why I did not catch a cold. You are subject to wind speeds. If the wind reaches 50 kilometers per hour, this is 1/3 of your own speed. And if you have 50 kilometers tailwind, you're flying at 200 kilometers over ground. If you have 50 kilometers headwind, it's only 100 kilometers. So the factor is 2 between these two speeds, whether you fly into the wind or whether you have tailwind. And so in this small, low-flying, slow aircraft, you are subject of the environment conditions in a rather extreme manner. And this is sometimes with decision making the evening before. Will I fly that route tomorrow? Will I change the route, or will I stay at home in the hotel where you just are? This is one aspect that was permanently present during all the journey. And of course there have been moments where you just fly straight ahead, you just listen to the engine, check your instruments by routine, and then you have time to think about the world, how it is. And I have been thinking almost the same things I have been thinking when I was flying the Airbus over the ocean or over continents. And this is mainly, if you see the world from up there, it looks so peaceful. You should put all these crazy politicians, and I know what I'm saying, all these crazy politicians, you should put them in aeroplanes and let them fly and look down to the earth until they know we must have peace on earth. People on earth, they just want to raise their kids, they want to work, and they want to have housing. And this is one thing I have been thinking all time of my flying life. You look down, it's so peaceful, why don't they realize it? The other thing is, this journey was very interesting because Europe is so rich in cultures, and I was fast enough to realize the ongoing change, and I was slow enough to feel what the change was. It was getting warmer slowly when I was flying southbound. The countryside was slowly changing, so it was the very good feeling that yes, it's fast enough to see a change within one day, but it was slow enough to observe the change. And that was very amazing on this journey. Now, this was clearly the journey of my life. That's what I keep telling people. It was the journey of my life. And coincidentally, it took place at the same time where I would have my farewell flight as a line captain if I would have continued to the age of 65. But for me, it's no question, this journey was better than any Airbus A380 flight to San Francisco, New York or Singapore could have ever been. So it's some kind of step in my career. Now I'm too old to fly commercial. And that area of my commercial flying ended with this amazing 6-week journey, which I say again, was the journey of my life. Of course, there is a team behind. And finally, it's about what Hugo Juncker said. Flying is meant to bring people together. And this journey was a good proof that this is true and that this works.